You have been told a lie about the money sitting in your wallet right now. Most people believe that before money existed, neighbors simply swapped chickens for bread. Anthropologists have searched for 100 years and never found a single society that actually worked this way. Money did not come from trade, it came from debt. When the record of who owes what is centralized, it becomes a way to keep score. And the moment you can keep score, you can rig the game. This rigging follows a predictable historical loop: creation, trust, capture, and eventually, collapse. This repeating machine ensures that money remains a tool of power rather than a simple convenience for trade. Before I explain how the paper in your pocket is losing its value, I need you to make a deposit into my personal attention economy. Please hit the subscribe button and like this video. With the way fiat currency is inflating right now, the purchasing power of your view is dropping by the second. If you watch this whole video and don't hit subscribe, I am going to legally assume you enjoy having your life savings quietly devalued by a central bank, and you actively want to pay $20 for a carton of eggs next year. Protect your intellectual assets and click the button. Money began as a shared memory of obligation. 10,000 years ago, if you helped your neighbor fix his roof, he simply owed you a favor. That favor remained a mental record until he handed you some grain to settle the debt. Ancient Mesopotamia standardized these invisible ledgers in the form of silver records, long before the first coin ever existed. As villages grew into cities, these mental ledgers became impossible to track. Humans began using physical stand-ins like cattle, salt, and cowrie shells. But physical objects are fragile. If outsiders flooded a region with cheap shells, the local money collapsed overnight. Around 600 BC in Lydia, kings solved this by melting down electrum, a blend of gold and silver. They fixed its weight and purity, then stamped it with a royal seal. This seal removed the need to weigh the metal. You simply trusted the face on the coin. At this moment, political power and money fused into a single object. The Roman emperors refined this connection to fund their expanding empire. Under Augustus, the Roman denarius was nearly pure silver, but the costs of maintaining global dominance soon exceeded the treasury supply. To solve this, emperors collected silver coins through taxes, melted them down, and mixed in cheap copper. They then restamped the diluted metal with the same face, effectively creating money out of nothing. By the year 270, the denarius contained barely 5% silver. The Roman public watched prices climb, hid their good coins, and spent the bad ones. The state inflated its way out of debt, causing the currency to collapse long before the empire fell. China eventually transitioned from heavy copper coins to paper receipts. By the 11th century, the Song dynasty issued the world's first official paper money. Later, Kublai Khan made paper the only legal currency, backed by nothing but his own command. Paper removes the physical limits of mining and melting. Governments can print it at will. Eventually, the Mongols printed so much that the money lost its value entirely, forcing the Ming dynasty to return to metal. For centuries, the world tried to chain money to gold, a resource a king could not fake. By the late 1800s, most of the trading world used the gold standard, ensuring that every paper note was a promise for a fixed amount of real metal. Governments universally abandoned these limits when a war begins. During the First World War, nations suspended the gold standard to print the currency they needed for the conflict. Germany demonstrated the consequences of this detachment in 1923. To pay massive war debts, they printed money around the clock until a loaf of bread cost hundreds of billions of marks. People burned banknotes for heat because the paper was cheaper than firewood. When a government detaches money from physical limits, a nation's savings can vanish in months. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement attempted to stabilize the globe by tying all currencies to a gold-backed US dollar. The world trusted America to hold the gold for everyone. By the late 1960s, heavy spending on the Vietnam War and domestic programs meant the US was sending out more dollars than it had gold to back them. When foreign nations began demanding their actual gold, these vaults started draining. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon severed the dollar's link to gold. This chart shows the result. Since 1971, the US dollar has lost more than 80% of its purchasing power. The money in your wallet has value only because the government says it does, and we all agree to keep pretending. Modern monetary policy is the same wealth extraction trick the Romans used, just with a more sophisticated name. The 2008 financial crisis demonstrated the fragility of this system. Governments created trillions of new dollars to bail out the institutions that caused the crash, while the public paid the price through the erosion of their savings. In response, Satoshi Nakamoto released Bitcoin, attempting to return to a fixed money supply that no central authority could secretly edit or debase. Governments are now developing central bank digital currencies. This money is programmable. It can be tracked to the cent, told what it is allowed to buy, or set to expire if you do not spend it fast enough. For 10,000 years, money has been a quiet machine for control. The only question that remains is who will hold the controls in the future.